Uyawaleta matamsanga. Yabo!
If you have tuned in, we have been talking to Dr. Ramanaidu from the Democracy Development Program, and they've recently completed a very successful project about promoting democracy in South Africa, produced and funded by the European Union, Konrad Adenauer Foundation, and the Democracy Development Program. Dr. Naidu, tell us more about the project and what exactly does it entail?
What's the present state of our democracy? What do we need to be doing? What can we be doing to deepen democracy more than just about elections? It has to be a deeply understood, felt and experienced process, in that we are trying to get to citizens at the most basic level of understanding that without their input, without their voice, democracy is quite meaningless. And quite frankly, the stakes are too high. South Africa is one of the highest Gini coefficients in the world right now. That gap is widening. Young people up to 50% are unemployed, poorly educated. This crisis is ahead of us. I really believe that unless we start to do this work more meaningfully and people have their voices heard, we are on a disastrous path. And so we targeted civil society organizations in 3 provinces in South Africa, in total 25 to 30 of them, working in different fields. And the idea was to give them a methodology that would enable them to rethink of the strategy of how they engage their constituencies. The whole notion was turned almost upside down to say, instead of NGOs going into communities to teach people about democracy, we had to learn from communities about what they believed democracy was all about and start with where they were.
For me, this is really exciting stuff.
When we had the conversation, it was so successful, and it was like I had opened the people's mind, and everyone wanted more.
I have seen power in the strategy, and power in the methodology. It's really working.
How do we get to the deeply rural, marginalized group, many of whom democracy has not even touched? The medium probably most underutilized in this country right now is community radio. And by working with about 9 community radio stations across the 3 provinces, we reached almost over 2 million people who had never before had exposure to this kind of work of democracy. So by producing mini dramas, hosting talk shows, inviting listeners to call into radio stations, we hoped that we could create a new sense of awareness amongst radio stations. For one, that part of their mandate was to work on this notion of local content, of talking about citizenship. This is really important.
I-democracy and you in your community nithulelwa i-Democracy Development Program ibambisene ne-European Union.
Hayibo, kwenze njani kanti? Iyophela nini le mvula? Isithotho phela lesi.
Yo, mama wami.
Usuwavalile nje amawindi Sipho?
Yebo ma. Hayibo, nanga amanzi sengenela endlini.
Uthoma uvala iminyango ngalama plastiki. Hey, Nkosi yami awafuna ukunqamuka lamanzi.
What makes your method so different from any other method or process that's out there?
This methodology, and you'll hear a lot about the way we use the methodology, is really to get people to engage in dialogues that are different from the traditional way of talking. Traditional ways of talking are about power and about control and manipulation and who controls the stage. It's the way we structure the gatherings, it's the way we have hidden agendas, It's the way we focus on compliance rather than genuine participation. The way these workshops are done causes voices that are normally quite marginalized to come to the center, people who haven't been heard before. And more than this, allows them to experience quite deeply, emotionally, what it's like when they ask a very simple question: what is my contribution to the story of this country?
As individual.
We firmly believe that as people start to use the methodology more to engage their constituencies and the state, civil society organizations themselves will start to become more relevant. And it's by building that sense of community and collaboration and co-creation that something magical happens in the room. And we saw that during the training, as we worked with the organizations, as they worked with their constituencies, that by making some very simple changes to the way in which they worked, there were some often profound consequences to it. And that's just the tip of the iceberg.
I mean, I did come away from that with a really strong sense of how powerful this process is.
There's something that I noticed. People were starting to talk.
That sounds quite interesting and intense at the same time. Can you give us an example maybe of one of the topics or maybe one of the conversations that you actually have in your workshops?
One of the really important conversations is about the right to say no. The dissent conversation, as people start to feel the power of no, the power of their voice, gets people to take more responsibility for what they're saying. So if I say strongly, no, I don't want this, and then have a conversation what the no means, it really sends something different about the way that dialogue starts to happen. And it's in that conflict and in that dissent that the really innovative creative ideas start to come out. And people start to listen more carefully to what each other is saying, respect what is being said, and can act on it differently, transformatively, rather than the old-fashioned way of simply saying, I hear you, but really without any action attached to it.
And I think the most significant place that we've used the methodology is in education, in the high school.
And one thing that I like about the methodology is it brings people together across, it embraces diversity. You know, when they sit in small groups and talk about their issues, they tend to understand, you know, oh, this one is not different from me. We might be different in color or whatever. And it also makes a person who is not from that community to understand what is taking place in the neighborhood. You know, so it really works.
A key element of the methodology says that for us to have a meaningful dialogue or conversation, get all the right people into the room and structure it in such a way that people are listening to what others are saying, that we start to find each other. And it's in finding each other that we start to build social fabric. Otherwise, it's nothing more than a little game to each other.
I stand up and I want to be heard and I want to have my say, but we don't listen to what other people are saying and what they have to say and their input. And that is the most important lesson.
You've been doing this for quite a while now. What is so powerful about this process?
I think the most powerful element of the process is the opportunity to give people to talk about the issues, to tell their stories. It's about dialogue and conversation. It's the ability to create spaces where people can have those dialogues and conversations in a safe space, in a facilitated manner that allows voices to be heard fully, to be respected and to be acted upon.
My being here, I was just reminded of how powerful that process can be in bringing about that change.
Today I felt powerful because some people were willing to listen